The United Nations projects the population will break 10.4 billion people during the 2080s. Earlier estimates believe that the population would peak about 10.8 billion people by the year 2100. And joining us now is Austin Ruse, president of the Center for Family and Human Rights. Austin, welcome back. Now talk to us more about this United Nations projection for population and why the United Nations changed its previous estimates.
Well, first of all, it should be understood that the report is published by the UN Population Division. There's a part of the United Nations called the UN Population Fund, which is, aggressive population controllers. The UN Population Division are, fairly objective demographers who have been putting out projections now for a very long time. I recall many years ago that they had an alarmist panel wondering how low fertility could go. This was 25 years ago, and the answer then was they didn't know how low it could go. Well, right now, the fertility of China is 1.3 children per woman, and India is at 2.2. So therefore, in the next few years, and certainly by 2086, India will be the most populous nation in the world.
And what do you think is contributing to this smaller peak population size?
Well, the United Nations has spent 25 years drilling into the minds of people that were going to be flooded with people, that the overpopulation scares that we've experienced now for 60, 75 years. So a lot of people have internalized that. There have been forced abortions in many countries, forced population control programs in China, for instance, which is one of the reasons they're at 1.3 children per woman. So social marketing and in some cases force has resulted in women having fewer children. So this is the new population projections in 2086 are a direct result of all of this.
Can you talk to us a little bit about why all this matters, especially when some argue that the world is already overpopulated?
Well, it's very interesting because the UN Population Division began having some panels over the last 20 years about the aging of the population and how the population pyramid has changed substantially. It was, I think, 30 years ago that Japan began hit this particular point where they had more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 15. This is a recipe for disaster. And this is the real problem that many demographers have been talking about for the past decade or more, and that is the aging of the population and the resulting strain on social service programs. So this is probably the problem. That there was a film out a few years ago called Demographic Winter that looked very specifically at this problem. The problem in the world is not overpopulation. The problem in the world is that people are, in fact, having too few children and populations are aging and stress is being put on social service programs.
I have to tell you, when you take a look at 10.8 billion people by the year 2100, can the world survive with that many people?
One of the things that I ask people to do who are worried a little bit about overpopulation is the next time you're flying from coast to coast or practically anywhere in the United States and certainly anywhere in the world at night, look down. And what you'll see are hardly any lights anywhere. What we're experiencing is urbanization. So you'll look at a city like Mexico City with 20 billion people, or New York City, or any of the other major population centers around the world. But for the most part, if you fly at night anywhere in the world, look down and you'll see very few lights. What that means is that there's a lot of room for us to grow.
Definitely. Good insight there. I thank you so much, Austin. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.